BI Consulting Services YouTube channel. If you're tired of wasting time in Excel, this video is for you. Today, I'll show you multiple Excel shortcuts that will help you work smarter, not harder, saving you hours of time. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, these tips will boost your productivity. So grab your coffee, open up Excel, and let's dive in. Here we have our dummy data that we'll be looking at for the entirety of this video. As you can see, there are multiple rows and columns. If you'll notice, whenever I begin to scroll, I lose my header. Now, a lot of time it is extremely beneficial to keep this header so we know what categories are what, and we can keep everything in order. A quick way to keep this header stationary is to hit Alt W, FR. And now that will freeze our first column, so as we scroll, all of our column names are stationary. If you want to unfreeze this, all you need to do is go to View, Freeze Panes, Unfreeze Panes. Now say that we want to see our total sales column by itself. What we can do is select a cell, Control Space, Control Copy, and then let's just put it in column N. We'll hit Ctrl V. If you'll notice, we only have zeros here and not our expected values. That's because over here, these are based on price per unit sold. And so it's price per unit times unit sold is how we're getting this value. You can see this up here in the formula bar. So now to have our new column that we created reflect the actual numbers that we want, we will select the column. Also can hit Control Space and then hitting Ctrl Alt V. That'll bring up this window. We'll go to select values, hit OK, and now we have our expected values over here. Now for some reason I might want to see our sales in a different currency. So what we do is click on whatever value I wanted to change, hit Control 1. It'll bring up our format box, and here I can pick whatever currency I want to see, and we'll go with the British pound. Now let's say that I want to see the difference between the US dollar values and the British pound values that I have. I will go to Fill, we'll just click blue, hit OK, and as you can see, we have the British pound, and it is highlighted blue. Second page of our data set. And if you want to alternate between pages, all you'll do is hit Ctrl Page Down to go to our second page, Ctrl Page Up to go to our first page. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Down to go to our second page. And if you'll see, I have all the names of the salespeople. And over here, we have some blank spots that need to be filled in. So in the first name of the first person we want, and instead of typing in individually each one, all we have to do, Ctrl E, and it'll automatically fill in for us. Same thing with last name. What we'll do is type in the first one, Mitchell, and hit Ctrl E. As you can see, our data set is quite large, so instead of using our Control down arrow to go to the bottom and Control up arrow to go to the beginning, what we can do if we want to search a specific row is hit Ctrl G. That will bring up our go-to window. And say if I were interested in going to row A70, all I would do would hit A70, hit OK, and it'll bring me to the row that I want. Another thing that can be extremely helpful when using a shared Excel sheet is adding in notes. So if I were interested in telling another team member to check inventory, to check price, anything like that, I just wanted to leave them a note. All I would do is select the cell that I wanted to add the note to, hit Shift F2, and then type in my comment. You have a couple ways to make this data look a little bit more visually appealing. If you notice, this is kind of long right here in this cell. What we can do is we can go up to the formula bar, hit Alt Enter, our words will stack. Just cleans it up, makes it look a little bit nicer. Now that we've gone through our navigation, we'll jump into some tips and tricks on adding in columns and rows and values. So here we have our data. We'll control down arrow to get to the bottom, and say we wanted to add some value in column F that has already been inputted. Instead of typing it in, copy and pasting, what we can do is hit Alt down arrow and select from here what we want. Another thing that is extremely helpful is being able to select an entire row. Here, anywhere we click, Shift space will select the entire row. Control space will select the entire column. Not super beneficial by itself, but when you add Shift space to select the row and then Control Shift plus, you can add another row. To remove the additional rows that you've added, Control minus. Same thing with adding a column, Control space, Control Shift plus, Control minus to remove them. As you'll notice, when scrolling, there's a lot of data here and it takes a long time to scroll to the bottom. Quick way to do this is hit Control down arrow and that'll bring you to the bottom of your data set. To return back, Control up arrow, and there you have it. Another thing you can do, Control Shift down to select an entire row from top to bottom, as well as Control Shift right arrow to select everything to the right. Now, if you were just interested in selecting column B and C, you can hit Control Shift down, let go of the control, and just hit Shift over right arrow. And now you have B and C completely selected.